something that was special, like. And orange, we used to Fanta orange. That was a big treat if you got an orange and things like that.
So I didn't realize the stations could be during the week. I was imagined
Oh
they were on
yeah,
a Sunday.
no, and they still
Yeah,
do them down
yeah,
my way. They still have stations, but now a lot of people do them in the church. You
yeah.
can take the station mass to the church. My mum still does a custom in our house. My two sisters that have moved back from London for custom's sakes, they've done kept the custom up. They've done it in their new homes.
It's a nice thing, isn't it, to
Oh, I
keep
think
that
it's
custom
great.
going?
I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
wonderful.
How about the missions? Did you have the missions?
Yes, we did have missions. That was a lot of fun. You were in the church for hours and hours, but I couldn't wait to get outside to see what medals I could get or holy beads or whatever they'd be selling off the stall outside the door.
Yeah.
That was all I could think of as a child growing up. And my granny, I'd stay close to granny because I know she'd always buy me something. You know, mother would be saying, "Oh no, you have one of them already. Come on," you know. But granny would make sure she'd buy you a medal.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
Was it? It was fun. You
Ah, well,
enjoyed it,
to me,
yeah.
as a child, it was a big outing, you know.
Yeah,
But then on a Sunday evening, they used to do devotions in the Stations of the Cross. That was another evening you enjoyed to do because you got away from home. What were you doing at home? You had no TV.
yeah, right. Yeah,
And my mum would say, "I'm going to the devotions." Oh, you were delighted to think you could go.
yeah,
You'd be special to go, you know.
yeah. Yeah, another night out and doing
Another
stuff.
evening out
Yeah,
up at the
yeah.
church or whatever, and meet the neighbours or
And
whatever.
and and they'd have after the devotions. Would they have like some tea and some?
No, there was never anything
No,
like that.
nothing.
No, it was just the pure fact that you could go there and be there.
Yeah,
And say you were at the devotions with your mum, and you know, I was a big girl. I was out last night, more or less.
yeah.
Now there was a local little shop near the church, and they'd open on Sunday morning. They'd be open for a couple of hours during the day, and if your mum decided to go in there too, that was a treat. You know, you'd be lucky. You might get a bag of crisps or something going home.
Yeah,
But you had to walk home,
yeah,
walk up and walk back. You know.
yeah, yeah. So it was, yeah.
Yeah.
How about now? And again, you're in a very rural area. How was death handled? How did when somebody died? What was the custom then?
Wakes in the home.
Mm-hmm.
I was with my grandmother when she died. I was in Dublin working at the time, and my mum had gone on a. We were all left home now at this stage. My mum was on a vacation in Australia. She took ill while mum was away, and she didn't make it. And for some reason or other, mother couldn't get back anyway with flights. So my dad had asked me, would I come home and spend some time in the house with my grandmother because he had to work and the other kids were still in school, the younger ones. And I said, sure, I says, and I was going home not knowing how ill my grandmother, she had actually got gangrene in her foot.
Oh dear.
And the doctors had told my dad, you know, if you take her home out of the hospital, you've got to take care of her 24 hours. And she's not going to make it, no matter what way we looked at it. They knew they wanted to. But her wish was to die at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember I went down and I was with her for 2 weeks. I was with her when she passed on, and we waked her at home, and it was a big custom. We'll say she died at 11 o'clock at night, and they wouldn't lay the body out for so many hours afterwards. People came in, they said the rosary.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had to stay up all night in the house. That was one custom I recall my dad saying, someone has to stay up tonight, you can't go to bed. For 3 nights in the house.
For 3 nights.
3 nights, somebody had to take
up.
turns and stay up.
Yeah.
There had to be someone up all the time in the house. So they waked Granny, died, we'll say, at night time. On a Sunday night she died, and then on Monday morning, the priest came to the house and anointed her the night she was passing away. Then on Monday morning, people started coming to the house, paying their respects. That's it. You'd have to make tea, give them a drink, whatever. Constant food making. And she would have been waked for 2 days in the house. And then the removal to the church, they carried the coffin,
3
shouldered
miles.
the coffin,
3 miles.
and there would be 6 people carrying the coffin, or if not 4 sometimes. So in sixes, 3 men, and they would go a couple of feet and then change over the shoulders again. And they carried her coffin. They didn't do the whole way to the 3 miles. They did her for the first mile and then put in the hearse. They couldn't. And she passed away in the month of May, so I recall this. And then the burial was in another, it wasn't in the Glandore church. Her husband, my grandfather, had been buried in Rosscarbery parish, so she was being buried with her husband. So they had to put it in the hearse and take it from the first mile.
Mm.
But we actually waked my father 8 years ago. It was his wish too.
Also in the house.
In the house, custom.
Yeah.
That was one of his wishes to be when he was ill and he died at home, and same thing as we did for Granny.
Yeah.
Now they shouldered him the whole way. The boys did and neighbours.
The whole 3 miles.
Yep, the whole way.
Wow. And then everybody walks behind.
Yeah,
as
the whole
well.
family.
Wow.
Yeah, they let the girls in on it as well when we were doing it. You
And
know,
helped to carry his
everyone, we all
yes,
did it, yeah. But it was custom. He wanted it done, and that was one of his wishes.
Yeah.
So we did it for him.
It's
You know?
really a beautiful custom, isn't it?
It is. It's tough. It's long. It's very prolonged on people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see a custom die out.
Yeah.
You know,
I imagine.
my mother is the opposite way thing. She says, if I get to that stage where, you know, you can't listen to me, just, you know what to do with me, she says. Get rid of me, she said. She jokes about, and I says to her, you know, we were joking one another. I said, so Mum, do you want us to have this kind of, I want you to go out and get drunk and have a good time and celebrate me, she says. She says, they're celebrating me when I arrive. Why don't you do the same when they're getting rid of me, she'd say. You know, she has this outlook.
Yeah.
She's very jovial about it, but she wants the whole thing.
She does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she wants.
She wants the custom thing.
Yeah, that's good.
Sure.
It's nice that there are still areas where that custom is really kept alive. Isn't
Yeah.
It? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, at some point now, you said you went off to England, you got your education, then you went to Dublin and worked for a while, and then you decided to come to the States. How did that decision come about?
That's a tough one. I was 18 years in Dublin.
18. Wow.
18 years.
Yeah.
I had worked for myself before I left it. I had worked with many beauty salons I'd worked in Dublin. Had a great life in Dublin. Had many opportunities to be married in Dublin. Life was too much fun. I had made trips to the States on vacations. I had done 2 actual trips out here on my own. I thoroughly enjoyed everything I did when I came out here. Got this thing in my head. I had applied for every green card that ever came out. I got nothing. And I says, you know what? I might as well join the rest of them and just go ahead. And I did that 12 years ago. Came to Boston. Spent 2 months. Boston was far too quiet for me. I packed up. We came down to the Big Apple. And I had lots of friends from back through Dublin and over the years that I knew in New York. So I got myself to Yonkers and stayed with some friends. And eventually I got myself 2 jobs. I'd done part-time beautician, part-time waitressing. And I moved into an apartment with 3 guys I shared with. And I met my husband, Jerry, in Rory Dolan's, going back 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I came for a year when I came. That was my intentions of going back. And 1 year into another year, I went home. The second year I was here, I went home for 3 months. And had a great holiday and returned. Couldn't settle my head to stay at home. And I returned, and after I returned from that trip, I met Jerry, my husband. So we got married in 98.
How long did you know him before you got married?
About a year and a half.
Yeah. So here were all these eligible young men in Dublin and back home and all.
I had to come out here
Jerry
and find a
was
Monaghan man.
And there he was. And where's Jerry from?
He's Monaghan, Ballybay.
Wow.
Yeah. So we married in 98 got married in St. Barnabas in the Bronx in Woodland, and had our first wedding was in Rory's. Was the first wedding in Rory Dolan's, if you know it.
Yes, I do know. Yeah.
And we had a reception there. We did it like an Irish wedding. We didn't want any of this dancing and sit down, and we just did a whole day of Irish wedding. Went off really well, and we lived in the Bronx, and we had our first son in 2000, Timothy, and we moved to Fairfield 2001. We bought our first house. And we stayed.
Why Fairfield?
Well, we had looked into. We really couldn't afford to purchase down where we were living. It was extremely expensive. Plus, we had a child in school to think of, and we decided we'd move up for the school systems. We looked into all that, and we wanted to get away. We had done the thing of the single life, and when you get married and have kids, your life changes, and it wasn't like a social scene we wanted anymore. We wanted to get out for the children. This is where we were thinking for the child.
Yes.
And we did move out, and we purchased a two-family on Fairfield when we came here in 2001
Where did
on Black Rock Turnpike.
Okay.
And we had Brian in 2003, January 2003, and the place was too small. And I said, that's it, we got to move again. So we actually purchased an east and a one family. We held on to the two family, and we're there since.
And where in Easton?
On Sport Hill Road.
Sport Hill Road. Okay. Yeah.
I love it because it's 3 acres with the house, and it's great for the kids.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
It's a beautiful area. Good schools.
Good schools. It brings a lot of home out. Lots to remind you of home.
Does it?
Oh yeah, definitely. The people. You're out in the countryside. I mean, for us both, it's close to home for us. That
kind of a feeling.
Oh yeah,
community
the freedom, the community. Just go down to the local store, and there's no clutter.
Yeah.
It's country. It's countryside living, and it's good. It's good for the kids. Yeah.
So when you first came over now, and you decided, when you said you didn't spend too much time in Boston, you went to New York. What did you miss most about home?
Well, I miss my social life in Dublin a lot. I really did miss that. And friends. But as I say, I got back, and I was 3 months back there, and I thought, you know what? I'm missing the other side now too, so what way do I go here? And I said, after 18 years in Dublin, I hadn't a lot to show for it, Only a good time. So I said, let me go back. Let me see how I can fare out, And I took the chance, and I came back.
Yeah. It must have been a big decision to make.
Well, it was hard because I was here illegally. And that's very hard on people. And I mean, if anyone wants to know anything about being in the country illegal, I could write a book on it.
Really?
Yeah. I have lots of stories on that.
Yeah. What was the hardest thing about being illegal, do you think?
You were nervous about, you couldn't go home.
For
family affair things, you couldn't go home. My father died 8 weeks before my wedding. I had to go home. It was very, very tough. I did make it back, and it was tough. It was just extremely tough. And I was sponsored by my husband. Once we met, we worked on paperwork. When we decided we were getting married, we worked on paperwork, and he was my sponsor.
And he was already
He was
here with a green card.
Well, Jerry came 11 years ago, and he was one of the lucky ones. He got the cards that they gave out when they came here. Yeah. And he only came out for a wedding and decided to apply for it and got called.
He was lucky.
And got it.
Really lucky.
He was very lucky.
Yeah.
So through time, I applied and went through my husband and got documented only 2 years ago.
Wow. Awesome.
So it's not easy. If anyone thinks, my advice to any young person today, don't come into this country or any country without documents. No way. I don't believe in it anymore.
So you did not automatically be...
No, you don't.
Oh,
no.
You don't get it?
You have to be seen as a married couple. You're checked out. It's not just like they're going to say it to you. They will check you out. It's very strict. And I've done what I've done. I've 12 years here. I have no regrets. There is a lot of, parts where you think back, I could have been so free I wasn't free to travel. Yeah. In the country, yes, but not out of the country.
How about getting a job? Were you able?
I was quite okay. I was okay.
That was all right.
Work was fine. Yeah. I mean, if you look at all the illegal immigrants that's here, they are working. Yeah. They're not costing the country anything. Yeah. It's too bad, that they can't just go ahead and legalise a lot of them.
In buying a house, though, that wasn't a problem for you?
Well, my husband was legal. So
he was able to do it in his name, but you couldn't even have it?
I was just the background picture. I was just in the background the whole time. Yeah. Oh, I had coverages. I paid my taxes through my husband, been married, everything legit. And got married in 98, filed for my documents, and they said, oh yeah, within 3 to 4 years. It took 7. Almost 7 years.
Now, but your kids, of course, were born here, so citizens.
They're citizens.
That doesn't count for anything, huh?
Oh no! I'm still waiting on my citizenship. I'm a green card holder. I'm still waiting on citizenship.
You have to wait 5 years to.
Well, not in Connecticut State. Every state is different. I think it's 2 years here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is Jerry a citizen?
He is, yes.
And you're going to.
Yes.
You're going to work towards being a citizen.
Well, I'm waiting for them to call me. You can't do anything about it once you apply for it. They're the ones that'll decide when to call you.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. You don't have a choice, no.
Wow.
So
now, do you work now?
No, I stayed home.
You're a stay-at-home.
When I had my son, my first son, I stopped working.
Okay, yeah.
I stayed home.
How when you traveled to the States, how did you travel?
By air.
By air. Okay.
I came by air.
What was your mother's reaction when you said you were leaving?
When I said I was,
And your father, actually.
well, I'll tell you, they were quite happy to see me getting out of Dublin.
Were they? Yeah.
And my dad says, there's hope for you yet. In other words, you might settle down somewhere. Maybe you'll meet the right person. Maybe you will settle down. Because I was the eldest sibling of the girls.
Yeah.
And there's 8 of us. There was 2. I mean, they were all married right down to me and the youngest kid. And he was like, maybe something might come out of this. Maybe it's the best thing he ever did. And my mum was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Did they ever come over?
Yes, they did actually. I brought them out when they were 40 years married, and it was my father's first and only trip he ever made out of the country at home, bar being in England. And it was a great trip because they spent 3 weeks with us. They came here, and I had organised. He has all his first cousins. He had aunts, uncles. He had never seen them in his life, and we got together in Boston.
Ooh, that gives me chills.
Yep,
Yeah.
he met a lot of his first cousins, people that he'd never met.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd done a family tree. I'd done all that over the times I had come here, and checked it all out and had it all laid out for him. So he met them all. It was great.
Must have been fabulous.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah. What was the date that you came here? When you feel like this was it, I made my decision, I'm coming here.
I came October 16th, 94, to this country, to Boston. And I wouldn't say that I said, oh, this is it, I'm staying here, because I was coming into the country illegally. I was coming and saying to myself, I'll get away with 12 months and I'll go back and do what I was doing in Dublin.
Yeah.
12 months was just like, life was flying by me.
Yeah.
12 months went by, and I went into my second year here, and I said, that's it, I'm going home. If you go home, you won't get back. I said, how's everybody else doing it? I'm going home with an open mind. If I want to come back, I'll try it. If I get caught, I get caught. So that was the way I went home. And I did go home thinking that was it. I'd had enough. And no, 3 months at home, it didn't do for me. I had to come back. I still had it in my system. I had to come back.
Yeah. What was it that you liked best about here, do you think?
The change was good for me after 18 years in Dublin. I had a lot of new friends. And I wasn't like some of these young chicks that were coming out. I was getting up there, and for me to be hanging back in Dublin, a lot of my friends were married and moved on and had family.
When you go back, do you see those old friends?
Oh, I do.
Back to Dublin?
They've come to me a lot here.
Have they?
Oh, I have a lot of people come to see me. Yeah.
And you stayed with your aunt? Did you when you came?
I didn't. No, I stayed with a first cousin actually. When I came out, just briefly, I stayed with him for the 3 weeks, and I came down here. And then I stayed with friends and got myself, once I got working, got an apartment, shared with 3 guys, and that's where I stayed.
Yeah.
In Woodlawn.
Yeah. And so where did you go to make friends? Did you get involved in any of the Irish societies or anything like
It was
that?
it was from home to home. Woodlawn is like an Irish community.
Yeah.
You didn't think you left home.
Yeah, it was just everybody.
It was unbelievable. It was so Irish down there. I mean, your social life, it never ended. Monday to Friday, it was the same every night. You went out till 4 o'clock in the morning.
And worked.
And worked. Not today, though. Not if you paid me, I couldn't do it. I could do it then. Not now.
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
What did you miss most about home?
I missed the dances.
The dances, really? Oh, they didn't have the dances then in Woodlawn?
No, they didn't do any. I could go on when I lived in Dublin, I went set dancing a lot. I would go to a bar with the set danced. I would go to an actual live band and dance in a hall, and in a hotel room, ballrooms and that at Dublin. There was none of that. I missed that. I missed it. Now, the age group of people that I would hang out with here would think I was cracked if I said that to them, because they weren't into that kind of music.
Yeah.
They were younger than I was, But the pub scene, you could go out and hear bands in the pub scene, and they brought out Irish groups and things like that. You got to see some like that, but it wasn't the same.
How did you keep in touch with the people back home? Did you write letters?
The phone, constantly on the phone.
Yeah.
If I had all the money I spent on phone, I'd be rich.
Wait, what point point did what time? You know, you said you didn't have growing up as a kid. You didn't have the indoor conveniences. What year did those things then come in?
When I left home at the age of 15, there was still no TV or phone in our house.
Uh-huh.
And the first investment my older brother made for one Christmas present for my dad and mum was a black and white portable television. And it was put in the cupboard and taken out for the news and the Angelus. And you had to have a TV license back home.
That's right. Yes.
So my dad was not paying no TV license. There was no need for one. So he'd watch the news and put it into the cupboard at 6 o'clock and the Angelus. And he'd do it again at 9 and he'd put it in. But one nice evening he got caught nicely. He was sitting in the kitchen where he'd sit it on this side and he was sitting watching the news. The knock came, the door behind. Come in. Never turned his head. And in walks the guy. Hello, Tim. Hello, how are you doing? What's yourself, Pat? How are you doing? A local lad that did the license inspector.
Oh my gosh.
What could he do? But they know from outside you have a TV. They can pick it up. He was caught and he got fined and his name was on the local paper and it was a joke in our house for the longest time.
Oh, so they actually come around.
They do. They can pick you up from outside. They pick it up from outside the house. But that happened. And I mean, I left home at 15. That happened my dad, I'm going to say, I was about 20, I'm sure, when that happened. That was too funny. We laughed and laughed. It was just a joke, you know. He was disgusted to think he was caught. And you're not going to do me, Pat, you know, the local. You're not going to do me. And now, Tim, you know, you have it a long time, Tim, and you know, you have to pay your bills.
Yeah. Oh.
It was easier to pay than pay the, well, they'd get a summons for it. Then they have to backdate it or whatever and pay their TV license, whatever. A lot of people got away with it.
Well, there's still TV licenses.
Oh, there is still.
But you buy them like at the same time you buy the TV now?
I'm not sure how it works.
I don't know.
I'm not very sure. I know I never had one as long as I was in Dublin.
Really?
No, never had a TV
It'd be hard
license.
in Dublin, wouldn't it be to catch?
Well, they still catch you, you know, but you used to kind of cable it in off of somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
A lot of people did. Yeah.
One aerial would do a lot of. Be kind of hard to.
Yeah.
Get at that. Yeah. When you be here, did you ever get homesick? Were you ever homesick and think back and say, "Oh, geez, I wish I was back"?
When there was times I would think, because I was more or less a single person in our house for many years, and I found that my parents kind of looked up to me more because I had no ties. I would travel home from Dublin every month. I'd go home one weekend out of the month and spend with them, and I would literally spend it with them. I would not be out with any of the younger siblings or older. I was with my parents. I would go to the local pub with my dad and mum and play cards with them and just have fun with the older folks, which I loved to do. And they relied on me for that. You know, that Noreen was coming, this is her weekend. They'd look forward to it. Yeah. And that I missed. But, I mean, they heard more from me when I was here and in Dublin than they did from the ones living down the road. And to this day. I could ring my mum every day of the week. Since I came here, I've been like that. I was always like that. But they only got the phone in, I'm going to say, 20 years ago. You know?
In the rural parts of Ireland, those things happen slowly, didn't they?
Yeah, very slowly. Yeah. And people didn't know what difference. I don't need it. I've done without it. They had the older folks. My dad even had the idea when we decided to buy mother a dishwasher. What does she need that for? You know, it was an added. There's no need for that. That's wasting the electricity. They had to wash up in the sink. You know, they had old ideas.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it was put in, and that was it. There was no more said.
Does she have a microwave now too?
Oh, she has the whole mod constant. She
So,
wouldn't be without any of her machines.
yeah, with the lads and.
Yeah.
Was there in the area where you grew up? Was there any historic things? I know you said they did a lot of rebel songs. That leads me
They
to think
did. Well, a lot of it goes historic, very historic. There's a lot of stone circles down where we come from. The Druids, the time of the Druids. There's a lot of that. Castles, the famine time of the Black and Tans, all that. It would be a lot of history down around West Cork, which I wouldn't be too good at. It wasn't one of my best subjects in school. And there is, and it's today, West Cork, you couldn't afford to buy a house in it. And plus you'd be lucky if you did get a spot in it to build a house even. It's so full of people that have come from every other country, built up there over the years. People sold land to make money, sold sites, even my own parents. My mum still has property in her name. She could only today give a site to one of her immediate kids. No one else could build there, only one of her own immediate kids. That's how hard it is now at the moment in West Cork. It's a very touristy spot in the summer. And there's a lot of changes. It's good enough for the best, you know, but it's sad too to see it so built up. And
the castles, were the castles English castles?
they were. They would have been English castles. Yeah. They're well taken care of. People live in them.
They still are living in them.
Oh yeah, Kilfinnan Castle in Glandore is a beautiful building. It was a German family actually had it when I recalled the last people that owned it. There was Kilfinnan Castle. There's Castle Freak Castle. They turn them into hotels, a lot of them. They've done a lot with them, you know. There's a lot of them. They're beautiful spots.
And would you, have a kid, visited like a stone circle?
Oh yeah, when we went to school, we were taking walk. It was walking distance from the national school, and we did it. Went down one day from school, and the teacher, our old headmaster, told us all about the Druids and showed us and explained the circle and the churches and the cutting out in the stone, what they did for water and what they had done and what they had cooked on. And back in the 70s, it was people came in and they discovered it and excavated the whole thing up. They found remains, bones there as well. There's a lot of that in that area. It's very historical.
When you're talking about your teachers, were your teachers religious teachers, or from orders, or were they lay teachers?
When I was in national school, there was 2 classrooms in the school, and the mistress was the one in this. When you started off, like what they call kindergarten here, we call baby infants, and you would start there, and you would be in her room until you hit 3rd class, and then you would go to the master's room, and you were in his room from 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and then you would move out of there and go to what they call middle school here. We call that secondary school. And then you would go to secondary school and you do 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th year. And I know it's changed now. You do your leaving cert, would be your last exam. When I went, you could finish a group or inter, which I did my inter. And when I did go to secondary school, there was a lot more teachers, subjects, different classrooms. And I was in the tech for 2 years, and then my parents transferred us to Rosscarbery to the convent because it was closer for travelling and for a bus. And then it was all nuns teaching. There was a couple of regular people in teaching as well.
And the hours of school, what would your hours have been?
9 to 3.
9 to 3. That's not too bad. And did you go, how many months of the year? Did you have the whole summers off?
Oh, in the summer you would finish. It seems to be like 6 weeks. Summer.
Similar to here, then.
Similar to here, but you still don't get all the breaks during the year, like spring break, winter break. They'll be off for Easter now at home for 2 weeks, whereas the kids here have a week. We don't get a winter break, and now it could be changed since I was at school, but there wasn't as much holiday at all. Christmas time was a big vacation, got 3 weeks.
And you travel back home fairly frequently? You get back every year or so?
No, not only since I got documented.
Okay.
I wouldn't travel without my kids. I couldn't take the chance.
Yeah.
So I was home at Christmas, last Christmas, 12 months for the first time with my 2 children.
How was that?
It was great. It was just a tough time of the year and they were very little. But I go home this summer. I'm checking out on the 15th of June for 2 months with them.